5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom! Hey, everybody. You like that, dude? Hey, it's Rail Andrews here with Modern Day Champions. And this is a new show that I'm starting to sequence. And really what's a modern day champion, in my opinion, is somebody who's not only had a dream, taken action on their dream, made that dream a reality, but giving back, making a difference, changing our world, changing our community. And, you know, my guest today, David Schuman, you know, he encapsulates all of that. I've known David for a very, very long time. And, you know, I'm just going to start right where it is. David, just today, I think it is so beautiful that today or yesterday we got this. This is Marcus's first recruiting letters. Yeah, he's got invited by.
Yeah, I know that.
And the reason I'm excited to share that with David is because David is the creator of NUC Combines, and my son, when he was little, he never was part of the Combines, but he used to go. And even that, the imprint that event put on my son, being around that, made him who he is today. And he talks about David all the time. So I'm really excited to have David on as a guest. Now, David, you know, rather than read somebody's bio, I know your bio, you're an amazing guy, you're a champion, but I want to hear from you, David. Tell me where you came from, how you got here. Tell us your story.
Yeah, I mean, as far as where I am now and to where I came from, I think, you know, my background is I played football, and I always loved football, and that's how I got into, eventually got around to the NUC Combines and forming that. But I was raised really to be someone that, you know, from the time I was growing up, even though I came from divorced parents and had a situation where my mother, you know, really didn't have a lot of money, but my father was a school teacher, so I mean he did okay. My father was a coach, and that's really kind of what really kind of instilled. So growing up with a coach and a highly successful track and field coach, who still coaches in his mid-70s to this day and still wins championships to this day. He really always instilled from the time I was young that to really go for what you want to go for and be the best that you can be. And despite, you know, the world getting thrown around when the parents got divorced when I was 11 years old, those kind of things from the time I was a young kid always continue to stick with me. And it translated as on the field, athletically. You know, I never realized that I might have been an overachieving athlete until I was done with my athletic career. I always thought I was exceptionally gifted, okay? And I never realized that I was really someone that was taking certain gifts that I have and really maximizing that. And I think that was kind of what was instilled to me. And so that was kind of set the backdrop for everything that I've done. So I went and played football at the University of Connecticut. I was on scholarship. I was an academic all-conference player there. I went and got my MBA. I got my fifth year of my last year of playing. I was in grad school pursuing my MBA, and then I graduated from UConn with my MBA. My undergrad was in finance, and I went and worked in the tech field right out of college. And I was, you know, always, like I said, was one of those people that never. I came in the first day of work, and I had dabbled with entrepreneurship as an undergrad, had a company writing papers, believe it or not. I was helping people, you know, write their papers and those kind of things when I was in grad school. But so I was making some money doing that. I actually made $144,000 when I was in my second year of grad school, just from paper writing, exchange, and selling papers to people. It was pretty crazy. So that kind of launched my entrepreneurship. But I went, you know, my father, though obviously always told me reach for stars, came from that background where you go and get a job and you go and you become something working for somebody else. And so I did that. I thought, let me go and do this. I could always, you know, I got a taste of entrepreneurship. I could always come back to it. And I went in there. And it's a funny story, and I don't know how much time we have, but this is a really, really
much time as you want, David. As much time as you want.
Really interesting story. So the guy who hired me was a University of Connecticut grad. He's on the board of trustees at the University of Connecticut. very successful entrepreneur, had talked to me about coming to this company. And when I got my MBA, they set you up with job, believe it or not, interviews. So I had like 8 interviews, rapid fire, and I ended up choosing this company. They chose me, kind of like a matching. So what was really interesting is coming there that first day, and the first thing they do, I come in, you go into training. First day I actually start my job, okay? I sit there, and I kid you not, and I'm this ambitious person who just got my master's, played football on scholarship for 5 years. And my first day, after I got through all the training, all jazzed up, ready to go, guess what I did on my very first day?
What?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They gave me absolutely nothing to do. I sat there for 9 hours with nothing to do. Okay?
Woo!
So I thought to myself right then and there, I said, I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to go and seek opportunity as much as I can. And then I'm going to take that kind of learning and go to the next step. Because to me, I needed something to do. I needed something to like get my challenge in. So I went to my manager. I said, what can I do? Each day I go in there until he had something. And eventually he gave me this strategic plan. The CEO found out I was doing it, and this is the time I think it was like a $100 million company. Now they're like $1 billion company. But he got wind of it. He wanted me to present it to the whole entire company. So I went from doing nothing my first day because I went and seeked out something to do, developed a strategic plan for the company, presented it. Well, he actually presented it on my behalf to the whole entire company. It was like 400 employees. The day after that ended, he brought me into his office and he said, I think you have great potential. I want you to go with me on these, they're kind of like philanthropy type things where he would go, and he was on board of trustees at UConn. I would sit in his spot when they had meetings with all these other billionaires. And then he would go to these different places. It was down in Virginia, and he would fly in these private planes, and he would want me to sit there and give a younger person's perspective on business. It was really interesting. So this is all my first year on the job. He had me do all this, and I would go around from place to place with him on private planes. I'm sitting one time with the chairman of DynCorp, who, when we got off the plane, he told me, he said, hey, this guy's worth over $1 billion. I mean, just sitting in the same room with those guys and them talking about, what they did to succeed, what they were trying to help different communities and helping them build their community infrastructure, specifically for technology. And so learning all that, I said, wow, these guys are guys no different than me. They just figured it out. They in this guy's case I work for, he started his own company. The guy from DynCorp climbed to the top of the ladder. And I realized that they were no different than me. They just figured out what it took for them to be successful and did it. And what I learned from a guy's name was Sudhakar Shenoy, him mentoring me in that short time period I was with him, I learned that there was value to the information that I was spewing out, and someone at a very early age, at 25 years old, trusted my opinion. That was incredibly important to me. And what was interesting is I also overvalued what my worth was, because when it came for my review, I said, hey, I'm doing all this, and I'd like to be paid more. And they gave me like a $2,000 raise. Okay. So it went from it went from $46,000. That was my opening salary, to $48,000. They want. I said, can you get me to 50? And so here's where a brilliant person, and I didn't want much at all. Think about the amount of money there, right? So I said, 50, I had a standing job offer. My second cousin had called me up. He had a technology company in New York and wanted to offer me $88,000. Okay. I went to my hiring manager, okay, and said, listen, I already have an offer for $88,000 in New York City. I'm asking, I love it here. I love working for Sudhakar Shenoy. Can you guys just get me to 50? It was kind of like a gesture, He said, we don't compete on financial. I said, okay, that's fair enough. I said, well, I'm going to take a job for $88,000 because I'm going to take care of what I need to take care of. And so I went in with the CEO and we sat down, and he was very disappointed because he thought, that I could be a guy. I said, but I'm learning a ton from you, but I'm not learning enough everywhere else. I need to learn more faster so I could develop. I'm not at the pace. I don't think of myself as being at the pace that the rest of the guys here are putting in 10 years. It's a different mindset. Those guys that want to work, 20 years, work their way up with you, that's the right thing. I want to be a guy that goes and accomplishes things, and then maybe I come back and you say, hey, I want you to be an executive with me. That was kind of how I thought. So I went and worked for this technology company in New York City. My second cousin was the number 2 man in charge. It was a smaller company, 10 million. I think it was actually at the time was a $5 million company, web development technology, right up my alley. And I came in there, and they gave me this job called, I was like e-business manager, which I don't even know what it meant. But my job was basically to help the salespeople land projects and then to be liaison between those projects and the techie guys, okay? What basically happened was I was going out and basically landing projects. And within the first 6 months, I landed over $3 million in projects with that company. And the CEO there took my salary from $88,000 to $140,000 plus 4% ownership in the company. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I realized that, like, I would sit there and I watch people and they just put their head down and they would just go to work and not interact and not try to figure out how they could build a company, but worry about their small world. And that works for certain people. For me, I realized very quickly in the first 2 years of working that my value was creating opportunity and creating, in this case, dollars, right? So I created opportunity. I basically created jobs by doing that. And there you go. You got your Bama hat on. Yeah.
I just noticed. I said, hey, if he's going to throw out his JUCO, I'm putting my Bama hat on right now.
That's right. No, we're terrible and you're great.
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. So I realized quickly that there was something more. And so one of my biggest clients, and I think I've shared this with you before, one of my biggest clients that I worked with was Cantor Fitzgerald. They're on the 104th floor of the World Trade Center. I had already began to shift out of that company into doing some stuff entrepreneurial on my own, but I didn't really know where I was going. And then 9/11 happened. And so 9/11 happened. My cousin was in the building. She got out, luckily. People I knew on the 104th floor, they weren't like my friends, but obviously I had done business with them, and I knew them, and many of them perished in that. And I lived in Lyndhurst, New Jersey at the time, and at the top of the hill, I could actually see the buildings standing there in flames. So my friend called me up. He said, look on the TV. I thought it was like a movie. I knew where I lived. I could walk out. He's like, can you see from where you are? I said, let me walk out. I walked out. I could see it. Okay. And that changed the way I thought about things. And it really got me thinking, how could I make a difference? So I was out hustling, trying to make money. I thought that was, what I wanted to do. Believe me, I enjoyed that. And you have to obviously be able to make money in order to be successful. Otherwise your business won't thrive. But I didn't want that to be my mantra. I didn't want like me going to making money. Was that what my value system lied? And I realized that wasn't where my value system. My value system was trying to make an impact. And who knows how long you're going to be on this earth? Hopefully I'm on for 50 more years, but I could be gone tomorrow. So at the end of the day, no one's going to remember that I landed $3 million in sales, but they will remember if I had an impact in their lives, and that legacy will continue far beyond how long I'm around. And so not everybody's going to love me, but that was my goal, was to be able to have an impact. And so I began trying to figure it out. So I started coaching football. I started coaching track with my father. First thing he said to me, he says, you want to have an impact, go work with kids. So I said, all right, well, he wanted me to come coach track. So I started coaching track. I started training athletes right out of my truck. I had an Infinity, I didn't have an Infinity truck at the time. I had a Chevy Blazer. And I was training people right out of my truck. And then I started coaching football. And when I started coaching football, I got that bug, and I had built a couple of training facilities, eventually led to NUC combines, and now we've gotten to a point where now we're impacting 20,000 athletes a year, every year for basically the last 10 years. So I got to that point, and really what it was for me is that I wanted to have an impact. That was my sole goal. What could I do to have the most amount of impact on the most people? So it wasn't about money, and a lot of times now you need money to live, and ultimately, obviously, I want to make money and be successful. But my belief is that if you do something that you enjoy doing and that you get after it, and you want to have a positive impact on the people that you work with, the rest of it will begin to take care of itself. And I learned that that wasn't true in a sense from a financial standpoint. So from an impact standpoint, 100% true. Have had a tremendous impact. The business grew. We were at one time in Inc. Inc. 1000. I'm sorry. What is it? It's the Inc. 500. It's Inc. 5000 top companies, and we were like 1,200 fastest rising companies as far as revenue in a country. That was 2011. And then things changed. So the impact was huge, but a lot of competitors flooded in the marketplace saying what I was saying and making it very difficult to differentiate that you were actually saying the truth versus other people that may or may not be saying the truth. And anything in business, someone sees someone being successful, they learn from it. That's the market. And I believe in the market 100%. And now you've got to go and compete on an even playing field where other people might have the same exact dream of you. Maybe they don't, but you've got to figure out how to compete. So for the next 2 or 3 years, I really struggled with the idea of how do I compete and differentiate myself. And I can tell you that I've tried a million different programs, a million different things. And last year, mid-year, I realized within my company, though I had many great people that have come and gone with me, that a lot of them no longer aligned with the values that I once had. And it was really hard. It was really hard. And one of the things that I truly believe, and I used to say this to guys that worked with me way back in 2008, I said, you may not think I'm watching. I may not say anything to you, but I'm always observing what's going on. You may not, just like I evaluate athletes from the minute they come to the event, I'm evaluating people that work with me, their intentions, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish. And eventually I began to realize, and I don't really think it's anybody's fault other than it just kind of, when you work for somebody, people begin to get stagnant if they can't figure out what their path is, or you can't figure out what their path is for them, or they don't have that drive, right? So that same drive as you. And what I realized was I've got to take a step back and take my company back to what its roots were and figure out how we can have the impact and get people around that want to have the impact. And I basically, in the last year, have blown everything up and started from a structure standpoint all over. So the guys that are running my events are guys that I believe in, that are on board with the fact that it's not about what they're making at the end of the day from there, that they're having an impact. And by having an impact, you'll have more kids and you'll make more at the end of the day. And what was happening was actually the reverse, believe it or not. As I grew the programs and the guys that were helping me grow the programs, and we started to have success, and we started to make more money in the programs, and we started to get more people, I started paying people more. And a crazy thing happened. They started to do less.
I know what you mean. It's crazy.
They started to do less. So they were not incented. I thought I was incenting them, but at the end of the day, they had something, and my company's unique in a sense that most of the guys work with me for a seasonal time period. They're coaches or they do another job. But I realized I have to do a better job, and it's an ongoing process of figuring out how can I get people that are incented to succeed, and not even incented because from a financial standpoint, that have that own incentive in themselves to succeed. That I don't have to go and say, hey, did you go and call these coaches? Hey, did you go and set up the program? Did you ask them to bring people to the camps? Did you tell them why they should bring people to the camps? Guys would be like, well, I talked about our programs, and guys are like, well, you guys take money. I said, well, yeah, you know what? A business has to make money, and that's why we charge a fee. But you need to communicate why that impact on the kids' lives is greater. Why Marcus Mariota, Johnny Manziel, you name it, 3 of the last 4 Heisman Trophy winners came through our programs and were successful in our programs, okay? Over 300 NFL players, many of which if I reach out to them on Twitter, will talk to me and get back to me immediately, okay? And so coaches lost their way on that standpoint. So I decided to blow it all up. And my whole thing, as far as what I believe in business, personally, is that you got to be different, and you have to understand what you really drives your value system, and you have to try to figure out how to get everyone on page with that value system and continue to assess, not just initially if they're on page with your value system, but all the time. And so someone could be on board with your value system, and you talk to them the wrong way, and then they're not on board with your value system anymore. And you have to be able to realize that, and you have to be real enough to say, you know what, I can't help you in the way that you need to be helped. You can't help me in the way that we need to help, and we go in a different direction. And so those are some really interesting things. And then be selfless as far as what you're giving to the customer and the people that you work with, okay? And this is why I always laugh at, and this is the truth. The kids I coach, although not the place I coached at this year because it was a very wealthy school system, so they probably saw me as I actually was. But when I coached the poorer school systems, and we had great success, and the guys they would think that you're a billionaire. And I said, that's not how business works. What I am is an entrepreneur. Go read about the success of what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur wants to work for himself, wants to be able to make decisions and rely on himself and the people that he can inspire to create success, right? And that can translate into tremendous financial success, but in a lot of cases it translates into personal freedom and hopefully enough money that you can go do the things that you want to do in life. And for some people, that may be trying to be a billionaire. And for other people, that may be trying to make $150,000 a year and everything in between. But an entrepreneur has that drive to be able to create their own freedom and success. And I think that's what's important on it. And someone in business has to take the long view. Like my whole thing, and sometimes it's very tough on my family, is I am not looking at something from, what I'm going to do tomorrow. But where can I get my programs in the next 2 or 3 years? What is the market going to be like? What do I want to be doing in 2 to 3 years? Do I even want to be running showcases? What other things excite me? And how do I take what I built and be able to leverage that into those next steps for the long run? So from a financial standpoint, that will ultimately is my view, and I'll get to that point financially by taking that view. And so that's kind of how I build my success patterns.
That's awesome, David. I just, man, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all that. But it's so cool to hear. I just got back, and I have to say I got some extra tickets, and I'd love you to come with us next year. But I just got back from GoPro Network Marketing, Eric Worre in Vegas. The most unbelievable experience I've ever been part of, and it's the best of the best. Richard Branson who was there, Tony Robbins, Eric. I mean, just billionaires and billionaires, and you actually hit on what were some very common denominators on all of them. One was that these entrepreneurs, they say the difference between an average person and an entrepreneur is they get an idea, they make a decision, they take action, and then they figure it out. Average people want to figure it out, and they never end up taking an action, right? The other thing you just talked about, what they talked about, adaptability. You had to make changes along the way, always adapting. Richard Branson said, it's Richard Branson, man. I mean, come on, this guy's incredible, and he's just so laid back, so cool. And he said, if you fail, you just figure it out and get back up, no big deal. I mean, these are the kind, but the common denominator, and that's what you were talking about just now that came out of it, was they're not, yes, money's important, but they're not driven by money. They want to make a difference. They want to give back. They give back. I mean, we raised, in about 10 minutes, we raised $500,000, $250,000 for Tony Robbins Feeding America, and then he matched it. Richard Branson gets paid $400,000 to appear for 20 minutes. He waived his fee, said give it to a charity. None of the speakers got paid, because it's, and that's exactly, in your heart, in your world, there's so many ways to give back. It's like I said, start with my son. I mean, look how many football players, kids who would have been stuck in the life that they never would have got out of, have gotten out of because of you having a dream and a vision and a passion and making it happen. I mean, you get that, right? You realize that it's bigger than just getting a kid to play football. You've given kids an opportunity to be everything that they were created to be. I mean, that's what I'm passionate about. Stop being okay with I'm just taking up space on this earth. You're not just here but their dreams get stolen until somebody like you or these entrepreneurs comes along. So, I really appreciate you and value that for. Let me ask you a specific question. Like you kind of said it, but I want just 3 bullet points because I kind of wrote down a few things. But in terms of everything there you said, what would you say your 3 keys to success were? Your 3 biggest things that made a difference for you?
Yeah, be different. That's number 1. Be different. And to expand on that really is like, I guess it's almost being yourself, right? So for me, being different is being myself. Like I've never felt like, it's funny, like I was student body president in high school, but I never felt like I was like a popular person. Like I always felt different as a person. And as a kid, you think, I feel different. Do I need to, how can I fit in? And when I realized, and it just clicked with me, as I started to listen. Like I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I listen to all his podcasts. Actually, I enjoy Gary Vaynerchuk. He's different, but I enjoy the way that he communicates things. I listen to guys like Tim Ferriss. And one of my favorites is Joel Osteen. Okay. And Joel Osteen, obviously, I'm a Christian, and not that, anyone has to be a Christian, but I'm a Christian. But my father's Jewish. Okay. So my father's Jewish, but, my mother was Christian and I'm a Christian, and I'm really more towards the non-denominational born again side. So Joel Osteen's someone that I love taking, and I always tell people, don't get caught up in just what he's talking about from a Christianity standpoint. Take the values and lessons that he talks about and apply it to your life. And what I thought about being different is, from listening to all those guys, and really the aha thing for me was, and a really aha moment came about 1.5 years ago with this. I guess is when I had my son. It wasn't exactly that, but it was, all those things kind of triggered. And I was always trying to figure out what made what I was doing such an important thing, and it was that I was different. And then why did players that I worked with gravitate towards me when I coached them? It was because I was different. Like I had a vested interest in them. And what it was I was just myself, and being different is a good thing. You don't have to be like the next person. You can learn from the next person, and you should learn from a Richard Branson or a Tony Robbins or any of those guys, because they have a lot of value to share. But you have to be different and true to yourself to be able to figure out what helps you get to where you need to be. And so I've learned to embrace the fact that I'm different, embrace the fact that I'm a unique individual, and that's a good thing, and that I have unique gifts to give, and I don't have to do things the same way the other guys. And a real quick story on this year, I came back to coach football. I took a year off. I had resigned from head coach on the place where I turned the program around that was unsuccessful, come to the state finals. Came and coached this year, really just to help out. A guy that I was friends with asked me to come and coach. And, I hadn't been an assistant in such a long time as a coach. I've owned my own business. And I really learned such an interesting thing. These guys are great coaches, great staff. We lost the state championship this year. And there was a dynamic that was so interesting. There were guys that were willing, that were comfortable in their skin to be different at the same time that they were assimilating the system. And there were guys that all they wanted to do was assimilate in the system, right? And what I realized when I was coaching was the reason why the head coach began to trust me was not just because I had this background. Because I thought coming in, I have this background, I've been successful. Guys are just going to listen to everything I have to say, And when I realized they began to trust me was because I was willing to stand up for my own beliefs on something and the impact that it makes and the ability to be different. Okay, I think that was an important thing. So that was number one, is be willing to be different, be willing to take chances. Those all things that kind of are in the same realm. The second thing is your success comes from success of others. So whether you're it's a client and you're selling a product, and like what you do with Isogenics, which is so amazing, right? You succeed not because you sold the product to somebody, but because someone's lives were impacted by using the product within the system. So you become physically wealthy by your clients becoming successful. It doesn't work the other way around. So you create your success by helping others become successful. That's number two. And number three is really take a long approach to everything you're doing. Everybody wants to dunk a basketball today and throw a perfect spiral today. But, Tom Brady was a fifth-round draft pick. I'm not Tom Brady, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tom Brady was fifth-round draft pick out of Michigan and had to prove himself sitting behind Drew Bledsoe in order to become the starter of the camp today. He didn't throw a great spiral the first time he threw the ball. It came from hard work. He didn't become an all-pro, maybe the best quarterback of all time, because someone told him he was the greatest quarterback of all time. It was because he went out and proved it every single day. And he took the job of a guy who is a potential Hall of Famer, Drew Bledsoe. So he ended up taking someone's job who is a potential Hall of Famer. And the other example I always use this from football is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had to sit behind for several years. He had to sit behind Brett Favre. Okay, in today's day and age, the first thing guys want to do is go and say, me, and this is in business. I should be successful because I'm smart. Guys you hire sometimes will be like, pay me this right now because I deserve it. And what I learned is that you have to go out and prove that you're successful, prove that you can do things in order for good things to happen. And sometimes you have to wait on the sidelines and learn before that happens. And sometimes you got to go out and do before that happens. And it's a mix of those things. And taking the long view will help you handle those times when you have to learn and handle those times when you have to go out and do and learn from trial and error. And taking the long view will get you to where you want to be eventually. And if Aaron Rodgers just came in there and said, trade me right now, I need to start tomorrow, he probably would not have become the Hall of Fame quarterback that he is today. There were things that he was able to learn from Brett Favre, some probably good and some probably bad, right? Mm-hmm. Things that he liked from him and things that he didn't like from him. And he incorporated into his game to make it better. And he created himself to be different because of that. And what I always love about a quarterback, and this is, one of the things that I think is so valuable about the quarterback position, and it goes for the point guard on basketball, and you can figure it out in almost every other sport and in the business. The quarterback succeeds by getting the ball to others.
Yes.
In good positions so they can be successful. Think about that. When you see a guy go 17 for 30 for 350 yards passing, and you go, oh, he's the greatest quarterback. He's 17 for 30 for 350 yards. He threw for 5 touchdowns. Well, in most cases, unless he was running the ball, quarterback didn't run in those touchdowns. He threw those touchdowns. And the only way he scores those touchdowns get in his stat book is by passing it to a guy who he puts in a good position so he then could score a touchdown. And that's the beauty of the quarterback position. There's they're like an entrepreneur that they create their own success by helping others succeed. And there are times, when you get a running quarterback, there are times when they also have to carry the mail as well, and carry the ball and create that success and get other people on their back. And there are times they're out there distributing the ball, okay? And they have to trust all the other people around them. They've got to trust the offensive lineman to do their job to protect them, because they're standing there in a pocket without looking down the field, without anything other than the lineman and maybe a running back to protect them from other people trying to do them harm. So they have to trust that that can happen. Then they have to deliver on what they need to do and help others succeed. So it's really, really an interesting. That's what I love about the quarterback. Just I didn't play quarterback in high school or in college, because in high school I was a selfish person. I wanted the ball. And that was the truth. Okay, and I was going to carry the ball. And as I began to learn, like when I went to the defensive side in college at linebacker, originally I was a running back. I really began to learn that like linebacker was like all these other guys have to. Like you rely on everybody else doing their job, and you can only succeed if, and it has to be one unit. And so it kind of started to build kind of the way I thought about things, and coaching builds the way I thought thinking about things, and helping athletes and being an entrepreneur. And I think that's the beauty about being able to cover all those kind of bases in the way that I do, that I get each one of those kind of perspectives, and it helps me to do good things in what I'm doing every single day.
That's, David, so much amazing, powerful stuff here. When people watch this, it's just going to change lives. But what you just said in that last little bit there, starting with that quarterback analogy, man, that was powerful, because that's really life. And that's really, and you know what I love? I love, because I didn't even think of it like this. I'm interviewing people that I'm passionate about, and football is one of them, and fishing, and acting, of course, and entrepreneurs. But when I thought about you, I didn't think of you as entrepreneur in that category. I thought of you as football, obviously. But I love how you see yourself as an entrepreneur, and now listening to it, that's exactly what you are. And now that through this interview alone, I've realized that anybody who sees more for themselves in life is an entrepreneur. Anybody who's not okay with being average. But it's just powerful. Man, I'm going to go back and write down that analogy that you just said, because that's it right there in a nutshell. So that's worth that's $1 million thing right there. Now let me ask you two other questions, three. So, because I remember you saying this once. So you said once, I was at a combine, and I remember I was there listening, and you were talking to some of the coaches, and you'd mentioned you can tell the minute a kid walks on the field if he's got the it factor or not. What are three qualities in an athlete that you believe, that you see, that you go, he's going to be the next, champion?
Yeah, there's two things right off the bat that almost every great athlete has had that I see. Number one, they balance these two things really well: confidence with being humble. So they walk into a room, they walk up to you, you're like, there's something about this person. They have a confidence to them. At the same time, they're humble. They're a guy that'll say yes or no, sir. They'll tell you about themselves without forcing themselves on you as far as informationally. Those guys are rare, and they walk in and they have that confidence and that humbleness to them. Okay. And then the third thing is that I noticed as soon as we start the program, those people that are most successful, and I don't talk about talent, I'm talking about end up being most successful, are the guys that take every minute that they're there as an opportunity to learn and get better. The second they walk in, they're preparing themselves. They're not the kind of guy, and I always say this at events, they're the kid that's sitting in the stands, sitting in the stands. When the coach walks in, they go ahead and he sets up, and they go ahead and they say, hey, can I stand here in line? I want to be the first person in line. Now, it's irrelevant when you're getting checked in where you stand, okay? But the kids that have that, I'm here, I'm ready to go thought process is always somebody that is going to be special. And the reason why I love the kids that get there first online, that are smart enough as soon as they see, even if they're sitting down waiting, that get there first and first in line. Because what happens as an athlete if you get there first and you're first in line? Well, that means that as soon as you get done checked in and everything is good to go, you can go and prepare yourself. You can go and focus on your preparation. So you can go sit on the field, whether you got to stretch, whatever it is your routine. You can now go prepare to get yourself to be successful. The kids, a lot of times, that struggle are the ones that get there way, way, way late. And sometimes things happen not on their fault. So, it was one of the things that I try not to judge, okay? Because, sometimes, kids are at the mercy of their parents, and it's not always their fault. But their preparedness. I've had kids that have come late because circumstances, and they were mentally prepared. I've had kids that come late, and they think we should cater to them. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. A kid who comes late is mentally prepared, goes, Coach, I'm sorry I'm late. What do I need to do? Gets the stuff. He's putting his shoes on as I'm getting the stuff. You hand him his shirt's already on. He's ready to go. You fill out his card. He's filling it out while he's waiting for you. He's mentally prepared. The kid that you have to tell every single thing what to do and say, hey, are you going to put your shoes on? Like, they're already competing right now. Those kids aren't mentally prepared. So being prepared to be successful, being confident, being humble, and that mental preparation that you're ready to go right now are things that I've seen in guys that I can tell right away. And there's one kind of what I call the X factor that you like to talk about is what I call that glow. Okay. And I don't know, you have this. So, but it's this glow where a kid comes up to you and he doesn't have to say anything. Somehow you're moving towards him. And it may be a combination of all of those factors. It may be self-confidence, but he has that glow. He smiles, when he says hello to you. Everybody always wants to get this mean face, right? Like, because, they see it in media, right? Like, they got to take this picture with this mean face. And it's funny? When a kid is confident in themselves, he can smile because he knows it's okay. He can smile when he wins an award because he knows it's okay. Those are the guys I honestly remember those guys more than anybody else because they just kind of have a great attitude about them. And, one guy that stands out about this, and he was so, he had such a affection to him that I almost didn't know how to take him, was Eric Ebron, and he's in the NFL now. And Eric Ebron, if you're walking by, he'll yell your name, Coach Shu, and he'll yell your name, top of your lungs, and everyone will look, right? And the eyes will be on you. You can be like, wow, But he has this affection to him. He's smiling. He's got a happy-go-luckiness to him. He's serious in what he does and everything that he does, but he doesn't take himself so seriously that he can't enjoy himself and what he's doing. And I think that's important because, when you're working, okay, and people always say, oh, I want to do what you do. I want to
oh, man.
I want to do, we've done, I want to say close to 20 million in sales in the last 15 years, okay? One-man shop, basically. I mean, we have some employees, but it's a one-man shop, all right? So one man generating that revenue, okay? And in order to do that, you've got to be able to grind, and it's not always fun, okay? And if you have the underlying passion and enjoyment of what you're doing, even when stuff sucks, at the end of the day, you know what your mission is. When you're at a deadbeat job that you don't care about and you're there just to collect a check, you're looking at 5 o'clock. Listen, and this is how I knew I had to change my company, okay? This is going to blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. And it's guys you know and love that you've worked with, okay? They're great guys. And I always say this never has anything to do with someone being a great person. Someone can be a great person and not a great worker. And that's the bottom line. But there were guys, I had this office, and 5:30 would come. And I swear to God, at 5:15, guys were assembling their stuff. 5:30, people were out the door. Okay, that's what I realized. It was like 2000. It was the year we got Inc. 5000 was a blessing and a curse. Guys thought we made it. The plaque was on the wall, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, my goal was to be a $10 million company next. Like that's. I would tell them this. They looked at me like I was crazy. So they were starting to try to control things by that, right? And when I saw guys leaving at 5:30, no longer staying until 7, and I would say, is there a whistle here? Like, are we steel mill that the whistle blows that we've been working with our hands for the last 9 hours, that our shift is up? What is it? And I'm telling you, it was like a whistle blew at 5:30. And I always believe, I truly believe this. Now, you have to go because you have to pick up your children. That's one thing, okay? But if you really want to be successful, you don't see the clock. No. You don't see the clock. Your family members have to go over to you and say, hey, I'm watching my show at 9 o'clock that we usually watch with each other. Come over here. Mm-hmm. Because you don't realize that you've been working on something. And that's how I am, honestly. This happens to me every day. I look up now. I love to get my lunch. I love to go and sit down. That's like my kind of salvation, my 45 minutes of eating lunch and just kind of thinking, and I eat my lunch, right? Then there are days I look up and I'm like, how did it get to be 12 o'clock? How did it get to be 12:45? How is it 2 o'clock? I didn't even eat yet, you know? And it's not because I don't want to eat, because I'm a big man. I like to eat, okay? It's just because I'm so entrenched at times in a project I'm doing that I'm like, man, I just don't want to take my mind away from what I'm thinking at that time standpoint. And I'm so enjoying it. And people who are entrepreneurs, people who want to be successful, that's what you have to have. It can't be like, oh, man, I got to get this project done for my boss. And you could do this within the company, that you work for, too. You could be entrepreneurial, because not everybody's in a situation where they can be an entrepreneur, and I understand that, okay? But I believe that you can be entrepreneurial in your job even, okay? I've heard Gary Vaynerchuk say that, if you're not an entrepreneur running your own company, then you're not really an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Well, I believe, I've run my own company for a long time. I don't believe that to be true, okay? Because I believe that in life, sometimes people have different situations. And if they have the long view, that they may have to do this right now in order to get to where they got to be. The key is to know what you want to do, to know where you want to go, that you don't get caught 20 years in something. So if you are working, for a company, let's say you're working for a financial company, and you have an entrepreneurial mindset, your thought process should be, how can I get more clients for my company? How can I help my clients be successful so I can get more clients for my company? And I don't care if you're the secretary, you can do that. How can you do that? If you're the secretary and you're a single mom and you have 5 kids and you know what, you have to have a steady income for at least a certain time. How can you do that as a secretary? Okay, I shouldn't say just mom, could be guy too. I know in today's day and age, some of
correct.
I know, right? But so how could they do that? Well, every client that comes in the door to that office that you work in should feel like that they are the only person in that company or that only client. And I don't know if Walgreens does this with all their employees, but I don't know why this is. When I used to have my office in Wyckoff, New Jersey, the guy who did the checkout was exactly like this. I live now in Roseland, New Jersey, and every checkout person is exactly like this. They make you feel like, and I used to think, because I would stand in line, I'm like, oh, this guy, he takes so long to check people out, but there's never really a very long line. They always get another person up there at Walgreens. You never have more than 3 or 4 people on a line. What these people do at Walgreens checkout, at least 2 places I've been in, I think it's amazing. And I don't know how good Walgreens stock is, but if every place is like this at Walgreens, then I know that the reason why that they succeed as a company. That checkout person makes you feel like you're the only person online. He'll go and say, hey, you know, the Twix bars are on sale for, I don't know, 50 cents off. Would you like a Twix bar? Do you have any coupons that you have? Oh, you don't have any coupons? Let me see what I have behind the counter that I can give you. I'm telling you, every time I go there, it's like this.
Well, you know what, sorry, I was going to tell you, David, here in California, I know exactly what you're talking about. The Walgreens, you walk in and it's like, hey, how are you? Nice day. And it's like, so it has to be something they do because it's all the way over here in California. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because they do things with excellence. It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've talked about this. I used to be a pizza delivery boy. I used to do the clean floors. I did windows when my fingers would freeze off. But whatever job I was doing at the time, in my mind, I'm going to be the best delivery boy. I'm going to be the best window cleaner. I'm going to be the best floor cleaner. It never was just a job to me. And, you know, what you're talking about, it's like entrepreneur, successful people, the difference between them and an average person, average person sees the clock as their friend. A successful person sees it as the enemy. There's never enough time. They're not like winding down like that, you know. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And the more and more people that I interview and I talk to, you just see these common denominators in them. And I think when you were talking about, like, I think we recognize, because we know how we are, that when you see somebody who shows up first in line, we like to be fair to everybody, but you recognize that. You respect that. I don't make excuses. I don't take them. Dude, things happen. But in my world, I don't make excuses. So if you're late, I don't really want to hear about it. I ain't mad at you, but I'm sure going to focus on that person who was 2 hours early. You know what I'm talking about, David. I remember one particular kid, an instance. One particular kid, I remember him because I always used to get there early to set up my booth. This kid showed up 3 hours early. And I was like, I think it was in Texas. And I was like, what are you doing? Not only did he show up 3 hours early, he said, can I help you, sir? He was helping me unload the water. He was helping me set up. And so I started talking to him. And I said, what do you do? Why are you here so early? He had to take the bus because he didn't have nobody to drive him. But he wasn't making excuses. I mean, he took the bus from a long way.
That's how important it was to him. And there are things that, like, and I believe this, and this translates into everything you do. And I'm not sure if you believe in this, but I believe in, as you approach your day, the more you can have a positive vibe towards what you're doing. And listen, everybody has tough days. I mean, I have tough days. I get upset. Everybody gets upset. But the more you can be on the 80% positive side of things, you know what I mean? You're going to be in a better situation. Now, listen, yesterday I was going, I had a meeting with a potential NFL player I might be signing, and I was coming back on the train back to New Jersey. And there was a woman going down the stairs, and she had all these bags and stuff. And at first I just wanted to make sure she didn't want to carry it herself. Sometimes people, if you don't know them, like, they want to carry it themselves. They don't. And I said, hey, can I help you with this? She had to go down all these stairs. And, and she was an older woman. And she said, oh, thank you. I carried him down the stairs for her. And I gave him to her. And then she went on the train. I went and sat in my spot. And she said, thank you. And she was so thrilled because I saw her looking at those stairs. Like, this is going to take me 20 minutes to get down these stairs. How am I getting this stuff down the stairs? And honestly, it took 5 seconds out of my time to carry her stuff because obviously I'm a big man. Carried it down the stairs and did it for her. And the more you can do those things, okay, in life, when those opportunities come up for you, you should do them. I can't believe how many people walk by this woman. Mm-hmm. That's why I thought maybe she wanted to do it herself because they walked by her. And I simply just asked her if she needed help. Okay? And it's a simple thing. And there are times when people, that they don't want your help. They say no, right? Mm-hmm. But when you see somebody that might need help, how many times do you go by and just let that person struggle? There are times when you can just be positive. there was a woman walking. She looked so mad when she was walking. And believe me, when you go into New York City, it's not like California with nice sunshine. There's a lot of people mad when they're on the train. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't smile at every one of them, because there's some people you smile at, they might punch you in the face. but there was a woman, and she was walking to get on train. She looked like she was just kind of shaking her head and looked really upset. And I just said, hey, you know, I hope you have a better day. And I smiled at her. She just looked up and she just said, thank you. And you know what? Her day might still be bad, but for at least that moment, she got her out of that thought process. And I've always done that with athletes. Like, believe me, I've screamed at kids when, you know, they made mistakes, and I felt bad about it. But I always go over to that athlete and make sure he knows that I love him, and I want him to be successful, and that, you know, why I might have told them those things and what they could do to be successful, and that I care about them. And the very first podcast I did, I interviewed my father. I don't know if I told you that.
Yes.
And I had you on our podcast. And on the very first podcast I did, but I interviewed my father, and I said, first thing I said is, you know, the man's been in the New Jersey Hall of Fame, okay? He's been in the New Jersey Hall of Fame since 2001. So that's how old he was. Old when he got inducted. He's still coaching, okay?
Right.
15 years later, he was inducted in 2001. He was named East Coast High School Coach of the Year when I coached with him in 2005. Okay, that's 11 years ago. He's still coaching. Okay, wow. And I said, what is it that makes you successful? And he said, I care. I care about every kid that I work with. I care. He said, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. And honestly, I could have probably, I went an hour-long interview because I wanted to ask a bunch of other questions. But the truth was, I had to say, it was pretty funny because now we didn't video it, but my face was like, I guess the interview really is technically done.
Right.
It's done. He says, I care about the kids that I work with. And really, in anything you do, if you care about your job, you care about trying to be successful, you care about helping other people, you care about the people you work with, then listen, you're going to have bumps in the road. There are people that don't care about you, and you're going to have all those kind of things. But if you genuinely care, then eventually things are going to go on the path that you want them to go to. And it's never going to be easy. Like, people think it's going to be easy. It's not easy. There are days when I look at my bank account and I go, where the hell did all the money go?
Right.
There are days when it's great, you know? And I'm telling you, and I'm sure, you know, people who are very wealthy, you see so many times, and your friends are probably many of the actors who had all this money and they go bankrupt, right? Because money, and people hate when you say this, but I truly believe this, okay? You want to build money up for the rest of your life, and you want to have a nest egg. You want to get into those situations. That's incredibly important, okay, for your family to be successful. But money can be taken from you. How you treat people and the impact you have and how much you care, that can be taken away from you. That cannot be taken away from you. A bad investment, unfortunately, a bad market, you know, if you have your money in certain things, somehow Russia takes over America, that money could be gone. But people will remember how you treated them. And nobody's perfect. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm sure I've done plenty of things that were not the right way. But I try every single day to be like that, to be a caring person, to try to help others be successful.
Yeah, that encapsulates, you know, one thing I always say, David, is do things with excellence. I always end my class with that. Let's do it with excellence. How do you want to be remembered? And that's really what you're talking about there. And that's so important. You know, you can build your character, and it can be destroyed in seconds. Now, David, so let me, I know it's so, you got so much knowledge. So if you give me a couple more minutes.
Oh, no problem.
So 3 things that you see, the 3 biggest mistakes you see these young athletes make. What is the 3 biggest mistakes these kids make?
3 biggest mistakes they make. Number 1 not having a plan. Okay. And I guess that goes along with preparedness, but not having a plan. And I did this thing and actually got frustrated with it. But I'm going back to it now again. I got frustrated with it because athletes were so unprepared. And I realized that the era of the 24/7 rivals and us even, we have all these rankings, right? And they want to move up in these rankings. They want to get looked at with social media and Twitter and the immediacy. They don't take the time to set up a plan to be successful that they can act on. And I call it massive action. So they have to be able to put the things in place and then take massive action on it. So a plan is my goal. I don't want to say goal because I don't even like. I used to like goals, but Tony Robbins talks about massive action, and massive action is to me the most important thing. So you say, here's what I want. I want to play in college. I'm going to lift every single day. I'm going to run. I'm going to get with a trainer. I'm going to catch 50 balls a day, and this is what I'm going to do. My plan to be. I'm going to go to these camps to be a college football player. Okay, and then they don't do it. They don't do it because they make their plan. They say that's my goal. My goal is to be a college football player. My goal is to be a scholarship athlete, and they don't take action towards it. They don't take action towards it because it's not hard to write things down on paper. Okay, and it's important to do that. I believe it's important to visualize and write things out. But until you take the step and actually go out there every single day to work towards it, it doesn't matter. And, I'll give you a great example. And this is number one on. Kids will send me their huddle. You know what huddle? Well, your son's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Huddle highlight links, okay? They'll send me their huddle highlight links without any information. They won't tell me their name. I'll get it from Twitter. They'll send it to me on Twitter. It'll just say their huddle link. It doesn't say their name. It doesn't say why I should look at it. It doesn't tell me their height and size. It doesn't tell me if they're any good. It doesn't tell me what high school they played at. It doesn't tell me their team's record. It doesn't tell me their GPA. It doesn't tell me any of those things. But they think I want to look at a random link because they send that link out to them. So the second thing is selfishness sucks. Selfishness sucks. If you want to accomplish something and you're going to go out and do it and you want to have those self goals that you have, you can't be selfish in enacting those goals. You want David Schuman or Nick Saban to look at your highlight tape, make it easy for them to take a look at you. Don't be so selfish to think that you're so important that you just send them the link and they're going to look at it. Create that selfishness by giving an opportunity for someone to want to get to know you, to want to work with your business, to want to be a part of what you're doing. They don't automatically want to be a part of it. So you have to have that selfishness to help others understand what it is, not just that makes you special, but understand their needs, their actual needs in order to accomplish their actual job so then they can want to work with you. That's number two. So that selfishness is a big mistake. And the third thing simply is they give up too early. Okay? They give up too early. My favorite is this. I went to your camp last year, and it did nothing for me. Wait a minute. And I'm telling you, I must get hundreds of emails of this in a year. Hundreds of emails in a year. So well, if 20,000 kids get through it, I'm telling you, I'll get hundreds of emails. First of all, when support sends it over to me, I just what am I supposed to do with this? I went to your camp last year, and it did nothing for me. So you're saying that because you showed up, that we should automatically anoint you the king of the world and that we should go and help you. Why is that? Why do you think that because you went to something that you should automatically have something happen? I'm not coming back. So they give up. My coach didn't play me enough, so I'm transferring. Without talking to him. They don't go and talk to him. They don't have a sit down with the coach. They're all mad. And think about this, how people are. They give up so early. They get so mad. Okay? At the end of the day, the high school coach is trying to win a football game, help as many kids as he can. Look, some guys are trying to put food on their table, right? Because they get a stipend with it. Okay? They put in 1 million hours. They may not know that you're mad at them. They probably don't. Maybe they get a little vibe, They probably don't. So you transfer out. You give up. You give up on him. You give up on the team. You give up on yourself. You give up too early. In business, my father, it's so funny, as inspirational as my father is, he always said, and this is why I know that entrepreneurship and business is different. Some things are different. I think one of the most probably the most brilliant coach I've ever been around, a motivator I've ever been around, has his moments, right? He always says to me, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. I said, why do you tell me that? Why do you tell me 9 out of 10 businesses fail? When you tell me 9 out of 10 businesses fail, guess what I think? I'm the one business that succeeds. You should never tell me that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. You can tell me 99 out of 100 fail. You can tell me 999 out of 1,000 fail. If you told me that 9 out of 10 businesses fail because they aren't willing to stick in it for the long haul, don't have a good enough product, aren't working hard enough, haven't figured out ways to get more capital to help them be successful. If you told me that after you tell me 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and then say, are you not doing these things or doing these things that could cause you to be unsuccessful, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's great. But the statement 9 out of 10 businesses fail means absolutely nothing to me. Absolutely nothing to me. So giving up too early, giving up on your business, giving up on, and listen, I do it, okay? I do it on some things. And when I do it, I consciously know that if I do it, it's because I probably don't have a genuine interest in it, okay? I've become self-aware enough to know that. If I don't have a genuine interest, I'll try a lot of things. But if I don't have a genuine interest in it, then it probably falls by the wayside. I give up on it, not because I'm giving up on my dreams, because it's something that I don't have as much passion about. People give up on their dreams because their dreams are too hard. Wait a minute, it's your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like my dream, was to be an NFL player. Like your dream was to be an Olympian, right? And then you do everything you can to get to there. And sometimes you don't make it, but not because you gave up on your dream. I went and worked out for a couple of NFL teams. Basically, no one would take me into camp. And I realized, okay, that's the end of my dream. Okay, now I've taken it from high school youth star to high school star to college star, and finally all the way up at the highest level of the NFL. They said no. And then Arena and Canadian League, they wanted me to come and sign contracts with them. And my passion was not into being in the Arena Canadian League. It just wasn't for me personally. And so I gave up there because that wasn't where my passion lied. I knew enough about myself to know that. I wasn't going to go play in CFL or arena football because that wasn't my dream. My dream was to make the NFL. And for me, when I thought about it, then that was it. And now I moved on to my next dream, which was to be successful in business. Okay? And in any one of the things that you're trying to accomplish, people give up on their dreams too fast. Take it all the way to the point where either the business goes under and you put everything into it, or they say no to you. Get the no before you give up on the dream. And not one no. It's I got one no. I didn't want someone to go and listen and say, I got one no, I gave up my dream. You've got to try multiple times with the determination to be able to get to that point before you decide to to give up on something. And if you're going to give up on something, this is a critical thing that athletes and people in business always forget. If you're going to give up on something, instead of giving up on a dream, shift your dream. Shift your dream. My dream was to be an NFL player. This is what happens to when you see guys commit suicide. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened with Rashaan Salam, so we don't know everything yet with the suicide there. Who's the Colorado Heisman Trophy winner? I don't know if you know. We don't know all the details on it, but I don't want to really use him as an example. But any athlete, sometimes you read about athletes that won't be successful after they stop playing. Well, in a lot of cases, the NFL player lived out his dream, and that you accomplished that. Now you have to find a new dream or shift your dream. You have to find a new dream. And you have to look at yourself and think, what do I like to do? And actually go and try things. Guys aren't willing to try. They're scared to fail. You can't be scared to fail. Okay. Look, everyone, and I guess to say that people aren't scared at times, that's not fair. I mean, listen, I'm scared many times when I have fear of things when I go and try things. I fear it, okay? But once I go and try it, I overcome that fear. I hate heights. Okay, absolutely hate heights. I still have a fear of heights. But I wanted to go to the top of the CN Tower when I was in Toronto, okay? And going to the top of it wasn't a problem because I was in case. But they had this thing, this like glass thing where you could walk out and look below. And I'm going to tell you, this is really funny. Okay, you probably, because I don't know if you're Canadian.
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Okay, you can see below, okay? And I'm not kidding you. I was shitting myself, to go. I couldn't go out there. But I wasn't going to leave until I actually went out there. Now, kids are rolling around. I see 5-year-old kids rolling around on the glass like it's nothing. But I can't physically go out there because I just have this thing with heights, like real big heights. And I wasn't going to leave until I walked out there. And finally, I'm not kidding, I stood there for 25 minutes. I finally took a step out there, took another step out there. I stood out there. I was still shitting my pants, but I stood out there. I looked down, I took a picture, and I did it. And the thing is that sometimes you got to stare some of your fears in the face and go and do it, and realize that as long as you're on this earth, you're going to be able to go to the next day. And you go and you try a business and it fails. Okay, well. Oh, you have to go get a job. You can always go get a job. You can always go and, you want to be mediocre. There's out of this country of 300 million people, there's probably 280 million mediocre people walking around. You can go be mediocre. What is the point in living your life to be mediocre? There's plenty of time left. You might as well try to be exceptional. Do everything you can to be exceptional. And let the chips fall where they may. And then if that doesn't succeed, you go on to the next thing and try to be successful at that. And you keep trying to figure that out. And, and you might remember this as a kid. And I've had guys, I've tried to sell my company a couple times to big corporate entities and have to deal with corporations. And I always find that interesting. And then I pulled back, because I didn't think it was right, or they didn't think we were right. And but I've met with so many guys that the head of companies that go to me and they go, Dave, what do you want to be in life? I go, why do you ask me what I want to be in life? Well, it's important in merging, if we merge your company with ours, I want to know what you want to be in life. I said, why do I have to be anything? Like today I want to be maybe I want to be the CEO of your company. Tomorrow I might want to be a head football coach at your college. 5 years from now, I might just want to be a stay-at-home dad. Why do I have to be pigeonholed into something that you think someone should stamp themselves? You read my Twitter. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a combine guru. I'm a podcaster. I'm a business person. I'm a CEO. I mean, I don't put this on there. I'm a dad. I'm the boyfriend of my girlfriend, who's my soulmate. You know, I mean, it's a kind of thing where everybody's a lot of things. Why do you have to be just one thing? Why can't you be great at this? You want to? I've told guys this. Let's say you bought my company or you merged with my company, and I work. You know, I signed the contract and I had to work for you. Let's say for 2 years. I'm going to be the very best person in the whole entire company at whatever it is you need me to be great at, because that's how I approach my life. Well, do you think? No, I don't think about it. I think if I want to go do this task, I'm going to go try and do this. I'm going to try and do it to the best of my ability. And if I fail, I fail. Well, do you think that, will you be happy in, listen, you don't have to worry about my happiness. I do things with myself to make sure that I'm happy. Okay? I think happiness is one of the most great, like people always talk about, and this is a huge thing with like young people. I just want to be happy. Notice my son, who's 18 months, and he's happy when I give him his milk, and when I pull it away from him, he's unhappy. If that was how he lived his life, you know, he's going to be unhappy. Happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of being who you want to be. There's no such thing as like happiness where you're, and this is my opinion, where, oh my God, happiness is an emotion that you have. Unhappiness is an emotion. Your state of mind you control. Something bad happens and I'm angry, okay, I can change my state of mind by doing certain things. And all it is an emotion that changes your state of mind. And you can change your state of mind back. So I see, and these are guys that I'm telling you that are really successful in my industry and other industries that still think that mentality. You know, I say to them, I've said this to a guy, and he looked at me like I was crazy. He goes, I said to him, he goes, no, he says, what do you want to be? You know, what is it Dave Schuman wants to be, you know? I said, I want to be great. Well, if you come on our company. I said, well, wait a minute. Do you approach your life? You're a CEO of $100 million company. Do you approach your life with desire to be great at what you do? Yeah. Well, I don't just look at you as a CEO. I look at you as someone that's trying to accomplish great things. And you're the CEO. That's your title because you accomplish great things. Because you accomplish great things. The head coach of a football program, Nick Saban, he's the head coach of Alabama. Okay? There's 140 other head coaches. Is his goal to be a head coach? Or is his whole goal to be great at the best at what he does? The best at what he does. And everything he does is to be the best at what he does. What his world is, he's trying to be the best at that. And that is why no one can touch Alabama. Because as great as Urban Meyer is, okay, as great as I don't know,
Ron Zook.
Yeah, all those guys, they're great coaches. I'm telling you, they're willing to do almost anything to be the best. Nick Saban is willing to do everything to be the best. He really is. He really is. Whether you like him or you dislike him. And it doesn't matter, like, you know, oh, I love this too. Oh, you know, there are people that don't like you. I said, if everyone liked me, then I must be the biggest wimp on the earth. You know, if everybody liked me. Oh, I don't want everybody to go around and say, you know, I want people to think that I'm a good person, but everyone's not going to like me. There's going to be people that think I run camps because I want to make money. That's the only reason. There's going to be people that think I coach football because I want to command kids. There's going to be people that are that might walk down the street and not like me because of the way I look in my face. Who cares? You control your life and you control how you approach things and how, you know, what it is to be great.
That's awesome. This is awesome. The last question, I promise, is just so much great stuff, David. So, and so, I mean, what, million, hundred, I don't know even how many kids you've had going through your program. You've had some great successes with Marcus Mariatti, you know, Johnny Football, you know, on and on. But, and I'm sure you've had many, but is there one success story of a kid that, you know, you got an email from or a text or a letter who said, because of you, I was able to give my mom a house? I mean, is there one that you hold dear to your heart, one of those stories you want to share with us?
There's a lot of them that have come in over the years. And I don't want to say that one, this is the truth, that one doesn't, I don't view one over the other. Okay. And, it's really important for me that I don't, and I'm going to give you a story of one, but that the way that I view it is that I don't care if a kid goes Division III or Division I, that they put themselves in a better situation to succeed in life, hopefully get a college degree, hopefully use football to do that. So for me, you know, it might sound like a small success that I'm trying to get them to, but that's what I view as successful within our programs. But Landon Collins, when he was coming out for the NFL, I just had started my agency. It was like my first year. And I had wrote him, and listen, he's with one of the biggest agencies, and that's, you know, at the time that's where he belonged, you know. But he said to me something that was really interesting. Okay, he said, Dave, I'm more than likely, you know, I'm going to go with one of these big agencies your first year as an agent. But I want to hear what you have to say, because you helped me to be successful to get to the point that I'm at now by creating the opportunity with all the he won so many accolades at our camp. He was unbelievable. You know, he did it. I mean, but you know, by all the accolades I got, it helped to get me started where I got all these scholarship offers. And ultimately, he went to Alabama, and he said, yes, I'm willing to, you know, talk to you about anything that you want to talk about because of that. And to me, that stood out, meaning he already knew who he was going to go with as his agent, who he was going to do business with, out of respect for me and what a small piece that I was able to help him, because he did it, small piece, that he was willing to talk to me about you know, what I was doing and why I think that I would be a good person to work with him, just because of that respect. So to me, you know, he ended up being a first pick in the second round. Now he's one of the stars for the Giants. And anytime I write him, he writes back to me about something, you know. So to me, that's a story of just respect for what it is I do. Okay. Now the truth is, does Landon know me on a personal level? Absolutely not. He knows me from the camps, and he knows me from me talking back and forth with him. But he doesn't actually know me on a day-to-day level. But he had respect for what we were trying to do to help kids like him. And in his case, he, you know, accomplished the ultimate. He's in the NFL, probably going to be an all-pro player this year. And, you know, he really kind of is at the pinnacle of what he does. But there are so many countless people, and I feel like I don't do it justice, because there are so many guys that gone on to Division II and Division III that have been successful, that went to the camps and just felt, hey, you know, I competed with kids that were going Division I. I realized I can compete with them. And I took that back to my high school, ended up being a better high school football player, and ended up playing at Division III college because of that. You know, I'm most proud of in coaching. The place that I was a head coach at for 7 years, they had 2 kids go Division I in their whole entire 4 years of existence. I had, in the time that I was there, I think 10.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, 8 kids signed Division I or 1AA in the 7 years I was there. And I had over 30 kids go on and play in college.
Wow. That's legacy right there.
You know, I was only there a short time period. And you know what? And here's a great, and this is my little, I guess, my institution rant for the day. I'm sure you'll love this. I always have, you know, my issue in coaching is that I have to work in an institution, right? In a lot of times, a public institution that's funded by the government. And one of the things within that system that you have is you have people that are trying to accomplish great things, and you know those people right away in school systems, okay? But the most of them are looking to do what they have to do to get through and get their pension and move on. And one of the things that I've always found in coaching that I've always struggled with is I've had a hard time when I see people that are not looking out for the best interests of the kids try to tell me what I should be doing because they're looking out for their self-interest. And it drives me crazy. And institutions, are notorious for having those kind of situations because they're trying to control the quote-unquote inmates, okay, instead of trying to help them thrive. And that's one of the things as a coach that I've always – so when people told me I couldn't win at that place, I proved that wrong. When they told me that these kids can't go to college, they're bad students, blah, blah, blah. We proved that wrong time and time again. They said these kids can't play in college. We proved that wrong time and time again. And so those things over and over, and by believing in helping other people be successful and believing that if a person is willing to put into work and subscribe to what you're doing because you're investing in them, that they can go and get to where they want to go. And I think that's important. And, I always think it's sad when I go to school and after working in the school system in 1 year, I could point out for you the guys who are great at what they do, and so many of them that are average. And I say average because I don't know, honestly, I don't even, unsuccessful or bad, I wouldn't even recognize it. I just know, okay, that's average there, because they're kind of just going about their business. So, it's so easy for me to say, okay, this guy's great, and I've worked with great coaches, and I always, I tell them when I've been under people, the guy I coach with this year, the guy's a great coach, okay? He doesn't do everything that I agree with, but he is a great coach. He's trying to always figure out how he could be better, okay? And this is a quick story about how do you know somebody cares about kids, okay? He's the head football coach getting ready for a state championship. And I told him I admire this about him more than anything else. You know what he does?
What?
He's a head girls basketball coach, okay? And most coaches, when they have the state championship, which extends an extra 2 weeks, and winter sports are starting, they have someone else do their job, an assistant do their job for them, or they postpone practice for 2 weeks. What does he do? He coached football practice, and then after football practice, he had his girls come in for basketball practice. How about that?
Yeah.
So he so invests in the kids. Like, how can you not want to play for a guy like that? He so invests in the kids that he's not shortchanging his girl basketball players because he's got an extra 2 weeks with football because he's got the state championship. He's figuring out how he can help both of them. How can you not want to play for somebody like that?
Yeah, you'll put, that's so true. You put yourself on the line, man. I mean, it's just, man, David, this is awesome. I've known you years, and now I just got to know you even more, and a whole nother respect for you and another level. I didn't think I could even have more. But I think what I love about these interviews is because I know because how we are, people like us, like-minded people like us, if you don't get a chance to get to know the person, you can be offended by those people because we are so driven. We are so, and you're saying, what a butthead or what it is. But then when you get to see it's all about the heart. Like you said it earlier on, sometimes you go here and here, but you always want to know it's because I love you. And I think anybody watching this will see, your heart and your passion. So you are a modern day champion, buddy. You are a difference maker and a leader. So here's how we're going to count it out. I do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. And that's something that I got from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen him in person, but oh my gosh. And his whole thing is energy creates energy. And he talked about that, and he said, so this is my energy creating energy. We'll count out together and we'll just go boom.
Hold on. Before you do that, I just want to say one thing
yes.
About what you talked about. I've known you for a long time, and what you do and how you inspire people and your infectious energy is second to none. There's never, this is the truth, there's never been any other person I've been around in my working life or coaching life that has a positive perception and attitude about how they go about everything all the time like you do. If I didn't know you better, and obviously everybody's human, if I didn't know you better, I think you'd walk around with a smile on your face 24 hours a day trying to figure out how you can help people get to where they want to go. So, I mean, it's a tribute to you. And, when you asked me to be on, I'm honestly honored. Now you can go with the vote.
Okay, thank you. So we'll do it again. Here it goes. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom!
Boom!
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.